This is Personal Injury Court.
This is the matter of Griffin versus the Carters. Mr. Griffin, it's my understanding from the documents that you submitted to this court that you sustained some fairly serious injuries when you fell out of a tree while you were trimming this tree on the Carters' property. Your documents indicate that you have $150,000 in past medicals, you're seeking $100,000 in future medicals, and you want this court to award you $250,000 for pain and suffering for a total of $500,000. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. and Mrs. Carter.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's my understanding from what you all have submitted to this court, y'all believe that he got injuries from being a tree trimmer and that it's not your fault, although it happened on your property.
Correct.
Exactly.
But this is his fault.
It is his fault.
It's his job.
All right. So, folks, I've reviewed the documents that you've submitted to this court. Now, let's get into the legal sauce. Now, Mr. Griffin, my understanding is that you're a tree trimmer, right?
That's it.
Tell me what that entails.
Well, first, let me give you a little bit of backstory. I served in the military for 6 years.
And thank you for your service.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure. Got out in 2004. Been a gardener for about 9 years. I really enjoy it because, you know, beautifying somebody's lawn, bringing them joy and something like that, that's just things that I really feel rewarded for.
Is it fair to say you know what you're doing as a gardener?
I would like to think so after 9 years, sir.
Okay. Now, you've done some work for the Carters before?
I have. For about 5 years, I've been doing work on and off. My cousin Dwayne here, he helps me out whenever we're doing any area work or any bigger jobs.
Okay, what were you supposed to do?
What was I supposed to do? I was basically supposed to go up this tree, trim it down for a party that they have coming up. And yeah, that's when I got attacked by Splinter and his two cousins.
Now, you've trimmed trees before, right?
Absolutely.
You've trimmed tall trees before.
I have.
So this wasn't a new task for you?
No.
Mr. and Mrs. Carter, this incident happened on your property, didn't it?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you all were planning a party of some sort. Tell me about that.
So, I've been an investment banker for about 20 years.
Yes, sir.
I retired early because I wasn't spending enough time with my lovely wife or a beautiful property. We're about to celebrate our 20th anniversary. And
congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate that. And she really wanted things perfect. And I said, you know what, money's no object. You do what you need to do to get this place up right.
We've had Scott come over many times. He's worked 5 years for us and he's always done a professional job.
Now, this is your property, right?
Yes.
Y'all done pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, we feel like we have.
This was going to be a big soiree, huh?
It
yes,
sure was.
75 people.
So, Mr. Griffin, you understand what you were supposed to do as to
Absolutely, Your
trimming
Honor.
the trees, right?
I've done it before for him. I've done it before for other properties.
Tell me how you got hurt as a tree trimmer.
All right, well, we got started setting up. Every time we do a setup, we always go through preventive maintenance.
What's that entail, the preventive
Basically, we inspect all of the mechanical components. We inspect all the ropes for frays, tears, or anything like that. We check our harnesses.
And how'd you fall?
I'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Anyhow, he's responsible for setting the top and the lower portions of the mechanism.
And your cousin was there with you that day?
That's accurate.
Okay.
So he sets it up, I put on the harness, shimmy up there. I'm starting to do, remove these leaves with the chainsaw that I have. It's just a little small chainsaw.
So you got a little chainsaw,
a little bitty one.
And what are you pulling off? Are they branches? What are they?
It's basically the palm leaves. I climb up there, I start pulling back some of the brush that's up in there, and next thing you know, I've got this swarm of rats that start coming at me because I guess I started, messing with their nest or whatever the heck it was.
They came out of the tree?
Yeah, they started flying at me, started clawing me.
Oh, man.
All kinds of other crap.
That gets, snakes and rats are my thing.
Well, yeah, so
makes my skin crawl.
Nothing prepares you for nutri-rats coming at your face.
Now, Mr. Griffin, you actually submitted a video to this court of the actual rat encounter.
That's accurate.
Let's take a look at it. You are there and trying to pull away.
Right, I am pulling away some of the brush like I mentioned before.
Now, what's that?
That is actually one of the rats. There's one right there. So that rat comes over and that's actually jumping on me, and there's actually more in there about to jump on me as well.
And they eventually get on you.
Yeah, they were on me. They were on me in my shirt, biting my chest, which I have additional photos of.
Yeah, you did submit some of those to the court.
I actually have them right here if you need to see them, Your Honor.
Matt, please get the photo.
I mean, there's other images in here that show the other injuries that I sustained during the process.
So what are we looking at here?
This right here is basically some of the claw marks that were on my arm. If you go to the next one, you'll look at some of the bite marks on my chest.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
What would you estimate? How many rats were on you?
Probably about at least a good 8 or 9.
Oh man. Okay. So, Mr. and Mrs. Carter, this is a bad deal, right?
Absolutely.
This isn't something you wanted for him.
Absolutely
No,
not.
But it was on your property.
We had no idea about rats up in the tree.
Well, you believe it's his fault.
Oh, absolutely, it's his fault.
They were supposed to have taken care of all this stuff before I
We
even
had
got
no
there.
idea that there was any
Yeah, you
rats in the
did.
trees. That's his profession. He should
He
have
should
known
know.
that.
That's and he said that he's known about rats in the tree. So why wouldn't he check it? You see how? Why would we ever
I
climb
can't really
the tree?
check it without going up there now, can I?
Well,
Now,
no,
Mr.
How are
Griffin,
we
we're
supposed to know?
Y'all, we got rules here.
Sorry.
We got rules here. You direct your comments to the court.
Sorry, Your Honor.
So rats swarm out of the tree and they get on you, then what happens?
I got all these rats in my shirt, biting me. I'm trying to get down. I lose my balance. Ladders flies this way. The aperture that I
So
have.
you had a ladder down there.
Yes, sir. He was the one on the ground, basically keeping hold of it.
Bring
We always
the
have
ladder.
stop for a second.
Mr. and Mrs. Carter, do you all remember when this happened?
Yes, we were just coming home from a boat ride, and you can see the docks just off to the
Must be
side.
nice.
We could see that. You see, that's what this is really all about, right? You want a piece of our money.
I don't want your money. I
Folks,
want you to be held.
You gotta let me get to the truth. So please finish telling me.
Came home and we saw this rickety ladder up on the tree there, and he was climbing up it. And
Now,
she
you-
commented to me that
You see your house here with that red arrow?
Right.
That's correct,
Right there,
sir.
that
Is,
tree.
is that the tree he was climbing?
Yes,
Yes,
it was,
Your
Your
Honor.
Honor.
That's pretty far up, y'all.
yeah, and he should.
That's a
Well,
long
he told
fall.
us he could
he
do
told
it.
us he saw the tree. He knew his risks.
Mr. Griffin, obviously the rats are all over you. They're biting you.
Right.
You're trying to figure out what to do. At some point, you hit the ground.
Yes.
What was going through your head when you slammed on that ground?
Well, whenever I lost balance, the descender that I had actually caught.
When the descender catches,
Right.
it stops you, right?
It stops me from hitting the ground. It's a part of our safety procedure, so that's what we had.
So how'd you
And-
hit the ground?
I run this courtroom. This is a respectful process, even though you disagree. We're not
Your
going to have disrespect. You direct your comments to me. So, you hit the ground.
Yes.
You realize that you are hurt.
Now, whenever I hit the ground, I was unconscious for a little while. After my cousin had helped me out, he was basically taking care of it for a little bit, and then I came to.
Okay, well, let's hear from you. Your name is Dwayne Griffin, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Griffin, come on up. Tell me what you remember happened on this day.
We did our safety checks, then secured the top anchor point and the bottom anchor point on the tree.
Okay.
With the belay device. And I proceeded to let my boss walk up the ladder. So about 5 minutes into it, he just starts screaming and yelling and he's getting erratic and he's obviously in pain. Next thing I know, he's on the ground. So
Did he hit the ground hard?
he hit the ground very hard.
Let's see, you brought some
Absolutely.
kind of apparatus with you.
So this is the industry standard harness for tree trimming.
And is this what Mr. Griffin had on that day?
This is the exact model.
Okay,
This is the front right here. It's worn around your hips.
all right,
So this is the belay device or the descender.
okay. And this belay device is to stop you from falling.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
When the belay device is engaged, this rope is not going, and this is rated for 500 pounds, Your Honor. He's
okay.
140 pounds
soaking
soaking wet.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
So
Me too.
when he fell off, he hung there for a second. And to disengage the device, you click the button, you flip it all the way over, which allows the rope
Then it's a free fall.
to slide.
So he's up 2+ stories,
Yes, Your Honor.
hanging with rats on him.
Yes, Your
He's screaming. They're obviously eating his flesh, right?
Your Honor.
And now he opens this device to try to get away from them.
I think in the chaos of the moment, he flipped it all the way open, which then caused him to free fall 2 stories.
You may take a seat. Thank you so much. Mr. Griffin, now you submitted some other images to the court.
Yes, sir.
I want to understand the extent of your injuries. Is this your arm before it was fixed?
That's my broken arm.
Okay, and you had some other injuries. What other injuries you had?
This is my spinal. My L2 through L5 were all broken.
So on the left where the circle is your broken back.
That's it.
After this fall. Then on the right,
That
You've
was
got
repair surgery.
surgical rods and screws in your back,
Yes.
and that's why you're suing for $150,000 in past medical
Well, between that and
and $100,000 in future medical.
you know,
Take your time.
I had a life
Yes, sir.
before this. So when you're sitting here trying to accuse me of taking money, that I had a life. I used to ride motorcycles. Did you know I was a 3-time champion in ballroom? Does that even freaking matter to you?
It does, but you can't blame other people for your misfortune.
All right.
Mr. Griffin, this is obviously very emotional for you. What have been your thoughts about the future?
What future, Your Honor? What freaking future do I have right now with bolts in my back?
Mr. Griffin, I know you feel passionately about this. I appreciate that. You've suffered some terrible injuries, but we do it with respect, okay? Mrs. Carter, you see he's hurt really bad.
Yes, and I
Right?
feel horrible.
You can understand why this is so important to him, obviously, right?
Oh, yes, I can.
And that this happened on your property, he thinks you're responsible.
But if somebody plays Russian roulette on your property, you're not responsible for the outcome, Your Honor.
We hired him as a profession. He told us he could do the job.
Yes, ma'am.
He should have had the correct equipment,
Yes,
and he
ma'am.
should take the safety precautions he needed to take.
Yes, ma'am.
He admitted he was aware
Entire
that these things live in the
doesn't surprise
trees. Then why didn't he take the proper precautions to prepare for that incident?
If y'all knew there were rats in the tree, don't you agree you have a responsibility, morally, ethically,
If we
to
knew-
tell him before you tell him to go up that tree, right?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
They did know, Your
Okay.
Honor.
If we knew we had rats, we would have gotten rid of them.
So, Mr. Griffin, how do you know that they knew that they had rats in these trees?
Well, if you would let me call the witness that I brought, that would probably change things.
Witness?
Sheriff Matt, I want to hear from this witness. Would you retrieve the witness from the hallway?
Yes, Your Honor.
Come on up, man.
Right to your right.
So, ma'am, state your name for the record.
My name is Veronica Marshall.
Miss Marshall, what do you know about today's case?
I've actually been the exterminator for the past 3 years for the Carter. Mr. Carter contacted me in January and explained to me that he's seen rats on his property throughout the property.
Okay.
And he wanted me to come out and check the perimeter as well as the grounds of their home.
When you say a rat problem, are you talking about 1 or 2 rats or more than that?
No, actually, when I came onto the grounds, I seen that there were several rats throughout the property. And as you can see in this work order that I have, we actually set up to have monthly visits to come throughout the month of April.
Well, this work order reads, customer reports presence of rats on property at ground level and around the perimeter of the backyard.
Still want to deny it?
That's ground level.
At the beginning of this case, you all have maintained that you didn't know anything about rats. Hold on for a minute. In a court of law, veracity, believability, and honesty of witnesses, that's the foundation. If you come into my courtroom and lie, then I disregard everything that you said because you cannot be trusted. You told me that you didn't know anything about rats. All the while, you had an exterminator out there who was supposed to come back. You can imagine that the hair on my head, or what should be there, would be standing up. You lied to me. When you come into my courtroom, do not lie. Zip it. I've heard enough.
Your Honor, she got rid of the rats. That's why she was there.
Miss Carter, you ready to go to jail?
No, Your Honor.
When I say zip it, please zip it.
We had no idea there was rats in the trees.
And
I would
why
never
didn't you take
mislead
care
you.
of
Tell me
the
that.
rats?
Did you tell Mr. Griffin about the rats in the grass?
I didn't. Did you?
On the ground?
No, I didn't.
I think I've heard enough. I'm ready to render my decision. In every personal injury case, there are 3 elements. That someone did something wrong, number 1. That wrong caused, number 2. And the third leg of a personal injury case is the wrong caused harm. Here, you're clearly harmed. I've seen your x-rays. I've seen the medical bills that you've submitted, $250,000 in past and future medical expenses. Clearly, you are in pain. These are severe injuries. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Carter, you all are homeowners, and the law doesn't require you to be responsible simply because something bad happened on your property. But it goes further than that in this case. You had a moral and ethical responsibility to tell him there are rats on the ground. Be careful, whether you knew about rats in the trees or not. Now, Mr. Griffin, the fact is the cause of your injuries is you let yourself go into a free fall by releasing your device. The law is unforgiving. As much as I hate it, I've got to find against you because you caused your injuries. And in that regard, regardless of how I feel, I must find for the Carters and against you, Mr. Griffin. That is my final decision, and this court is adjourned. Ms. Jenkins, it's my understanding you're suing Mr. Flores for injuries you sustained when you slipped and fell at his gas station. You're asking this court to award you $10,000 for past medicals, $45,000 for your future medicals, $150,000 for pain and suffering, for a total award of $205,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Flores, it's your position that she knew everything you know, and had she looked at your sign, she never would have been injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
So let's get into the legal sauce. Ms. Jenkins, how did you get to this gas station this day?
Well, Your Honor, my husband and I, we own a gift basket company. So we make these gift baskets and we deliver them all over the tri-state area. We own 2 vans, and that's what we use to deliver them. And so on this particular day, we were driving, we were going on a route. It was a very rural area. We weren't going to hit another gas station or a rest stop for miles, so we decided to stop at this restroom on that day.
So you and your husband started this delivery business together?
Yes, it's a gift basket business, Your Honor, and so we actually take them to the customers ourselves. Yes, sir. We started about 2 years ago, so we really enjoy it. We have a lot of fun with it, and the driving part, too, I really enjoy.
Tell me about your gas station, Mr. Flores.
Well, Your Honor, I do own this gas station. We're located remotely off the interstate. There's a picture of me right there, nice, handsome fellow.
If you say so yourself.
Hey, I do say so, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Well, we are fairly convenient for people coming in and out of the city. We have a steady in clientele coming in day in, day out. The truckers keep us busy, and we've never had any problems with any security issues. I got a trusty tire iron for it in case we do. And as far as my relationship with Ms. Jenkins, we only met in passing. It was very brief. She came in asking for a restroom key, which I did give to her, but I left the premises soon after, so I have no knowledge of what went down.
So once you got the restroom key, what happened?
Since he gives me the bathroom key, it's a key attached to this big chunk of wood and says the restroom's out back, you know? So I go out back, there's a grimy door with a unisex sign on it. So I'm thinking, oh man. Wow. And you know, I go inside and immediately the sight and the smell of this bathroom almost made me lose my lunch. I mean, just the smell, if I could describe it, it's like stale urine and rotten trash. Yeah.
That's the bathroom?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, that is. And it was absolutely disgusting. Unfortunately.
I can almost smell that through the screen.
You can. I think you can. You know?
So, Ms. Jenkins, how did you get hurt?
Okay, so Your Honor, after I walk into this disgusting death trap, there are more wet paper towels and junk all over the floor near the stall. So I'm going to use the restroom, you know, do what I gotta do, and as I'm going to use it, my foot slips on some of the paper towels that were under my feet, and I fall, you know? I hit my head really hard, and when I made contact with the ground, Your Honor—
That's what it looked like?
Yes, that right there. And when I made contact with the ground, I could hear my back crack and my leg snap, you know? And I laid there in agony because I couldn't move. I couldn't reach my phone to call my husband. And I laid there screaming for help for what felt like hours on this filthy floor. I mean, it was absolutely awful. It was a nightmare.
Mr. Flores, come on, man. Is that what your bathrooms look like?
Your Honor, I've never seen that picture before in my life.
Do you use that bathroom?
Your Honor, I've never had a problem with the facility.
Well, not whether it works, but whether it's disgusting.
Well, Your Honor, look, we had some issues with this restroom earlier in the day.
Okay.
We had a plumbing issue. What I did was I put a wet floor sign on the door after my plumber came in and rectified the situation.
So the toilet had overflowed before Miss Jenkins went into the bathroom?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's why you had the sign on the door?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Jenkins, you've got a black eye. What caused your black eye?
Would you like me to show you, Your
Yes,
Honor?
ma'am, please. Take your time.
Okay, so, you know, this is the stall, as you can see here, and my feet would be right about in there, and I slipped. This wall that's right there, that's that's right there in that spot. So this slips from under me. My back hits the back of the toilet. And as I cripple over when I'm falling, my head hits this metal piece right there, Your Honor. Yeah.
Your Honor, that's a
Can
tight
return to the
space
podium.
there. That's a lot of contorting to have all these extended.
And it's a lot of pain as well. Yeah, it happened. Yeah.
What do you believe she wasn't hurt in your bathroom?
I'm not saying whether or not she was hurt. I'm just saying whether or not she did not know. She knew the fact that we had a wet floor sign on the door, and she should have been more careful. And I heard something about you taking pictures.
You should
Huh?
have been more
Well, wait a
careful.
minute. Couldn't you have just locked it and said, ma'am, I'm sorry, our bathroom is not in any shape
Thank you.
for anyone
Thank
to
you.
use?
Yes. Exactly.
Your Honor, the restroom was usable.
The restroom was
had
not
it had
usable at
not
all.
been usable, if you could
The
not
restroom was
flush the
not-
toilet, we've got people coming in and out every day. I heard not one complaint
Are you
from
telling
any
me-
of the patrons that
Are
came
you
into the
serious?
store
Okay,
until
so
Miss.
you really think that your wet floor sign did enough
Address
warning
me, please.
for that?
Address me,
It's
please.
enough for you to know to be cautious when you go in the door.
No,
Well, wait
Your
a minute.
Honor.
Let's add some balance to this now. You saw the wet floor sign. It
Yes.
wasn't a secret to you, right?
No, Your Honor,
Exactly.
it was not. I saw the wet floor sign, but honestly, I don't think it was enough of a warning here. I mean, this is more than a wet floor. I unfortunately put my feet in it, and my feet stuck to the ground as my feet were in it. But I mean, we had
This
to
is
go.
just nasty. It's just nasty.
It's awful.
That you can't be proud of that bathroom, right, Mr. Flores?
Your Honor, to my defense, the floor was wet. We told her as plain as day. And as
The
far
floor was filthy. I
Well,
mean,
Your
floor is
that's
disgusting.
beyond wet.
Well, Your Honor, I was away from the premises at the time of this accident. I mean, how do we know that she didn't mess up the bathroom herself?
But let me,
Are you kidding me?
Mr. Flores.
Where could I have gotten that much dirt and mess to make it even look like that? Are you serious right now?
I know this is important to you. You've been injured, but you got to address me. Mr. Flores, why didn't you just have somebody go in there and clean that bathroom up?
I was not there, Your Honor.
Well, let me give you a legal lesson. As a business owner, just because you leave the premises doesn't mean you're relieved of a responsibility
Exactly.
to have your place be safe.
I agree. But, Your Honor, as far as the restroom situation goes, Miss Jenkins could have alerted the clerk that was on duty of this horrendous bathroom condition.
Well, hold
Are you
on for a
serious?
minute. You mean y'all didn't know this bathroom was nasty?
Thank you.
I had no earthly idea.
Well,
And
Miss
Your Honor,
Jenkins,
I'm
you
appalled
did know it
myself.
was
I
nasty.
did know that it
right?
was very nasty, Your Honor.
Just like I said to Mr. Flores, he could have closed it. I mean, I know there are some circumstances that are more urgent than common sense would allow, but couldn't you have just gone down the road to another bathroom?
No. If we could have gone down the road to another gas station, please believe me, we would have. Unfortunately, on our route, this was going to be the last gas station for miles and miles and miles.
So tell
And
me
there's
about
stuff-
your injuries.
Oh my goodness, where do I start? Well, to begin, when I got to the hospital, they told me that I had a herniated disc in my back. So I have a lumbar fusion issue that's going to require another surgery later on down the road. The recovery time alone is going to be 3 months, you know. The medical bills are going to be very expensive. I'm going to probably have to do physical therapy after that. I mean, this whole ordeal has just been a nightmare.
The future medicals of $45,000 are for your surgery,
Yes, my surgery and any impending physical therapy that I'll have to have thereafter, Your Honor.
and that is to correct your herniated disc in your back.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, what about your head and your neck? You've got a neck brace on, and
Yes.
clearly your head has
Yes.
been disturbed.
Well, I hit my head really hard, as you can see here, obviously. And, you know, I have headaches now all the time. Most of the time, I'm in pain. Between my head and the extent of my back pain is so bad that they put me in this because they didn't want me to risk, you know, messing anything up before my surgery. And honestly, Your Honor, if I could describe the pain that I've been in on a daily basis.
Your Honor, the extent of all these injuries are not my fault.
Well, you see that they're severe injuries, right?
Yes, I do. But I would like to see, do we have x-rays to verify that all of these injuries are actually accurate?
So you,
Well, let's talk about that.
I mean,
Do you doubt that she was injured on your place?
Sure, it's very difficult to have the extent of the injuries that you did with the length of the fall that you had in this restroom. I don't buy it one bit.
I'm really not sure I like the way you're approaching this.
you know,
Your Honor, we did our part.
What reason do I have as the judge to doubt whether she's telling the truth? Is she coming in here faking this whole thing?
Where are the x-rays?
Just as to the injuries.
Where the x-rays? Where's the physician that can verify that she's actually injured?
Well, here's what I've got to do as a judge. I've got to look at the evidence. Ms. Jenkins has submitted $10,000 in past medical bills and projected surgeries that are going to cost $45,000 from her doctors. Now, unless you have some evidence to challenge that, it stands as true. Not whether you're responsible, I'll figure that out. But whether she's injured, unless you can tell me something other than your opinion, I gotta conclude that she's been hurt very badly.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Jenkins,
Yes, Your
you
Honor.
brought your husband with you.
Yes, I did.
Mr. Ralph Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, would you stand and go to the podium, please?
Yes, sir.
What has this done to your family?
Well, Your Honor, first of all, it's really affected our love life. I mean, like, she has problems in bed, and, you know, like she says, she has headaches all the time, so it's really put a strain on our relationship.
This is a big number you're asking for, Ms. Jenkins.
Yes.
$150,000 in pain and suffering.
Yes.
Tell me why I ought to give that to you.
My life isn't even my life anymore. Like my husband, touched on briefly, everything has changed for us. I can't work right now. I can't drive, my truck, so our business is in jeopardy. The bills keep coming in and coming in. We have no idea what's going to happen financially in the future. I've been feeling very depressed. I don't feel like myself, and I'm on this pain medication, and it makes me feel disoriented. It's just so hard because we have no idea what's going to happen to us after this. I have no idea if my life is ever going to look the same again, what's going to happen to my business.
Mr. Flores, you see these injuries have changed this family.
Your Honor, please do not let this emotional charade take you away from the truth.
What?
The truth of the matter
I thought
is...
that you had the point when I said it in the past. This whole approach drives me crazy because you have no reason to doubt whether this lady was hurt, whether this family was affected. I'm going to really push you to the wall. How often were you having people inspect and clean those bathrooms?
Your Honor, we run a tight ship.
No, it's not that.
Now, you know how you wanted me to doubt her injuries? I'm doubting now your tight ship when the ship looks like that, and I did say ship.
Your Honor, we had no complaints until Miss Jenkins came by.
It doesn't
So that makes it
matter.
right, though?
Yeah, it doesn't
How
matter.
is it that the only people that are complaining are you?
No, what do
you
you
know,
mean?
I-
Six-figure price tag attached to your complaint.
Just
Well, y'all
because-
talking to me.
No, just because.
Order in this court. Now, when I bang this gavel again, I'm gonna get active. Address your comments to me, or I'm gonna throw all of y'all out of this courtroom.
And Your Honor, if I may, he knew the bathroom was not being upkept, and I know because I have pictures, okay? I have pictures of the restroom.
I'm glad you
and
did
I have
take
pictures of the service record.
You've
I took-
submitted those to the court.
Yes, Your Honor.
All
I
right,
have
let's take
pictures
a
of the
peek at
service
it.
record. And if you look there, Your Honor. The last dated time that someone signed off on cleaning that restroom was at 9 a.m. that morning. I fell around 3:15 p.m. that afternoon.
Now,
That's
Mr.
a
Flores,
long time.
if your folks were inspecting and cleaning the bathroom, there should be signatures or at least initials all the way down, right?
There should be, Your Honor.
Now, when I look at that, should I assume that it wasn't cleaned after 9 a.m.?
I'm guessing that didn't happen, but I have no way to tell.
Folks, I think I've heard what I need to hear. I'm ready to render my decision. In every personal injury case, the plaintiff has to prove three things. You've got to prove that the defendant did something wrong. That's the first thing. And then the defendant's wrong caused your injuries. You've put up evidence that you thought it was simply a wet floor, and you get in there about to sit down, slip on this paper towel or whatever trash was on that floor, and your whole life changed. I don't care how you got it, but you were injured in that stall. That is clear in my mind. Mr. Flores, y'all had nasty bathrooms, okay? But nasty does not mean negligence. Here, the legal principle is superior knowledge of a hazard. The hazard is debris on the floor that caused you to fall. Under the law, if Mr. Flores knows more about that hazard than you do, you win. If you both know about the hazard equally, you lose. Now, Ms. Jenkins, when you went into the bathroom, you knew the floor was gonna be wet because you saw the wet floor sign. When you opened the door and saw all the trash on the floor, you knew what the hazard was. You went into the stall, did your best, but the law says You knew as much about the hazard in that bathroom as Mr. Flores did. And I hate this ruling, but I am wedded to the law. I've got to find against you because you had equal knowledge of the hazard.
Yes.
So I find for the defendant. That's my final ruling, and this matter is adjourned.
Yes! Yes, sir! Oh!
Mr. Flores, you do not celebrate in my courtroom. You should be ashamed of the way these bathrooms were. The law is the only reason I found in your favor. If it was about how well you kept these bathrooms, or frankly, even your attitude, I'd give them everything they wanted and put you in jail. You gotta do better from this moment on and take your celebration elsewhere.